Many people think that being a mogul is all about living in big houses, driving fine cars, taking their dream vacations, having a white picket fence, like the big American dream. But people really don't see what really goes on behind the scenes in the lives of moguls. So this spring, I'm launching this show called Mogulish, More Than Meet the Eye. Follow me so that you can get the inside scoop of what really goes on in the daily lives of moguls. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mogulish, More Than Meets the Eye. Wow, what an honor it is to be joined by this beautiful mogul who's also a very good friend of mine, Miss Nakisha Hobbs. She is the CEO of It Takes a Village family of schools and also the owner of Empowered Transportation, which is a five-star rating Amazon delivery partner. My, that is an impressive resume. I'm excited to be joined with you as a serial entrepreneur so that you can tell your story and your journey. And thank you so much for joining us, Nakisha.
Thank you, Gicele, for having me. It's definitely an honor, and I'm excited for this opportunity to share my story with all of your viewers and to touch the lives of young women all over the world.
Yes. All right, so let's start. So starting from the beginning, I have a few questions that we have. So starting from the beginning, all of the women featured on this show, including myself, have an origin story that contrasts their life today. So tell me about how you grew up. I want to know how you grew up. I want to know your struggles, because many times people think when they see women that are successful in business, they automatically have this ideology that we haven't gone through anything in life. So I want you to tell us about how you grew up.
Yeah, I think that's a great first question, because I think most of my life and the reason why I am who I am and the reason why I am where I am is because of all the things that I have experienced in my life. That's something that I am profoundly aware of. So me, myself, I am the oldest of three sisters. So I have two younger sisters. I was born to a 17-year-old single parent. So my mother was 17 when she had me. My father was 19 years old. My mother is an extremely brilliant woman. She is, in fact, my business partner today. So I get to work with my mommy every single day, which is an absolute and total blessing. But when I was a young child, I actually attended 9 different elementary schools. So by the time I reached high school, I had actually gone to 9 different elementary schools. And part of that was because my mother was always seeking better opportunity for me and for my younger sisters, right? So she moved around, we stayed in bad neighborhoods, terrible apartments, so sometimes the landlords just didn't take care of the place and we had to move, but sometimes we just didn't pay the rent and we needed to move. We had no other choice but to move. And so as a child, I saw too much. I think I experienced too much. At different points in my life, both my mother and father struggled with drug and alcohol abuse. They didn't have, they were young kids trying to figure things out, living in poverty. And it wasn't, things weren't always quiet in my house. There was domestic violence. There were tons of different scenarios and situations that I went through. But regardless of what I was going through in my life, I think God blessed me with this ability to know that I wasn't my experiences, that I am a child of God. I always believe that. And, at a very young age, I learned to pray. I prayed for my mother. I prayed for my mother every day that God will help her to overcome addiction, that God will help her to realize her full potential, that God will help her to realize her dreams. And so honestly, my mother, seeing what my mother has been able to accomplish in life is a huge testimony and driving force for me. And I know that happened as a result of the power of God, the power of belief. I think when I was 12, I made up my mind. I knew then that I wanted to use my life to ensure that as many children, as many Black children, as many brown children as possible, children who's lived in, impoverished communities, children who had parents who were struggling with drug and alcohol
Yes.
abuse, that they will have the opportunity to go to a school in their own neighborhood where they will have the access to the types of things that I had access to in an affluent neighborhood in Nebraska, right? And so that has really been my life mission. I think having all the experiences that I had in my childhood really kind of put me on this path to do something powerful, not just for myself, but for people who have similar circumstances as me.
I think it is a good time now to talk to us about becoming an educational entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is so reformative in education. So tell us about your earliest memory of starting the Village Leadership Academy.
Yeah. So prior to starting the Village Leadership Academy, which is a K through 8th grade independent social justice elementary school, my mother and I actually started our very first early childhood center, It Takes a Village. And the way we started that, so I was in graduate school. I was actually pregnant with my own child. My husband and I were expecting our first child, and we were living on the west side of Chicago. And I was excited, to be a mom. And I was one of those moms that started early while I was pregnant, looking for an early learning center for my child. And as I traveled throughout the west side of Chicago, trying to identify the type of space that I wanted to put my own child in, I realized that space did not exist, that space was non-existent on the west side of Chicago. And I wanted to create that space, again, not just for my own child, but for as many children as possible. And so we started our very first It Takes a Village Early Learning Center. And when actually we didn't end up opening, we had some hurdles, and we didn't end up opening until my daughter was almost a year old. We started out with a licensed capacity of 47 children, and our goal was just to prepare those young people for kindergarten. And, fast forward a few years later, we did an exceptional job. Everything that I could possibly think that I wanted my own child to have, field trips, going to all the museums downtown, bringing in hands-on science experiences, even having pony rides in the backyard on the west side of Chicago of our facility. We did all of those things, and we really focused on teaching and learning. So by the time our first group of children were ready to go to kindergarten, they were 3, 4, 5 years old, already reading at a first or second grade level, already doing math, and knew about the scientific method and how to create their own experiments. So we thought we had done a phenomenal job, and the parents in our community told us that we had done a phenomenal job and that their children were more than ready for kindergarten. So they started taking their children to our local schools for kindergarten, and we were all excited. But after 2 or 3 months, I literally had parents of children back at my front door saying, Miss Nakisha, Miss Gwen, I need you all to keep my baby another year because they aren't learning in kindergarten. They aren't starting to read yet.
Wow.
They aren't doing real school work in the local schools. Can you all please just keep them for another year? And we kept them. We were like, we had the space. Our program was growing. We had acquired another property next door. And so we started a kindergarten program. We looked up the state law. We figured out, hey, it's legal. We could do it. So we started a kindergarten program. And at the end of kindergarten, our children were performing at the 3rd grade level at the end of kindergarten. And that was profound for me because I'm a student of sociology. I'm a student of education. And what we know is that prisons are built based off of 3rd grade test scores. So based on whether or not children can perform at a 3rd grade reading level, they use that information to predict social trends, social outcomes for children and communities. And here we had 5-year-olds already passing, already performing at the 3rd grade level. And so we knew we were on to something special.
Wow.
We knew that it was something unique, and we knew that we needed to keep doing it. And as life unfolds, so many miracles, I think, happen, and we ended up getting a facility in downtown Chicago where we started a K through second grade program the first year, and we decided that it would be Village Leadership Academy. And the reason why we chose that name is because we always from the very beginning wanted to be more than a school. We wanted to be an institution of community building, and ultimately our goal is to develop young people who are going to be prepared to respond to whatever the needs in our community are.
I love the World Scholars Program that you do. For all of our viewers, the Village Leadership Academy have a World Scholars Program, and every year they take children to different parts of the world. And I love one of the comments that one of the kids said was, "The world is our classroom."
Absolutely.
I thought that was so brilliant. I'm like, those are my friends.
Yes, yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the World Scholars Program?
Yeah, absolutely. The World Scholars Program was actually born out of a first grade classroom. So we had a group of students in first grade. They were studying African history, and they were learning about a country. They were learning about what was happening in Darfur in Africa, in a country in Africa. And when they were learning about this country in Africa, they were like, well, if I was alive at this time, I would go there and I would do this. And the first grade teacher was like, no, this is not like past history. This is current. This is modern. This is happening right now. And they were like, what? This thing is happening in Africa right now, and my mother doesn't even know about it. I want to teach my mother. So they started to do teach-ins in their own community, teaching about what was happening in Africa. And they said, we want to go there. We want to go to Darfur. We want to go to Africa. And the teacher came back and reported it at one of our staff meetings. And I just said, why can't they?
Wow.
Why can't they? And what we do every year at Village Leadership Academy, we study one particular country for the entire year. And at the end of the year, our students actually have the opportunity to go to that country. But when they go to that country, they're interacting with other young people.
Wow.
They're visiting people on the ground who are making a difference in their own community. And they're building lifelong friendships, lifelong memories, and they're really learning and understanding what it means to be in solidarity with Black and brown people all over the world.
I love what you said, and something consistent in your language that I've picked up is that life is not about waiting for opportunities, but life is about creating those opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I just love the trajectory of your thinking, the way you think, the way you operate. Everything that you said has been consistently this underlying theme of creating your own opportunity. You talk about the need in your community and rising to the occasion. And can you expound a little bit about that? What can you tell the next generation about?
Yeah. Don't have a pick-me attitude. That's what we, oftentimes that's what we have. We want to be picked. We want to be seen. We want somebody to tell us that we're capable of doing something. But we don't have to live with a pick-me attitude, right? One of the things that I tell the young students at Village Leadership Academy is don't allow the world to happen to you. Happen to the world. That's really a motto that I want every student that comes in and interact with me, every person that interacts with me, to know that you don't have to be a victim. This is not a passive experience. You have power in this experience called life. I have no other explanation to explain how a poor little girl from the west side of Chicago who lived without lights, without gas, who watched her parents struggle to pay the bills, can actually sit in this seat with you today and truly proclaim, yes, I am a mogul, but I'm a mogul because I believe in God. I believe in our innate ability to create and manifest the things in our life that we really want. And I think this is a message that has to get out to our community.
Woo!
It's something that our community must know. Every person in our community must know that we have power. We have power. We can create what it is that we want to see in the world.
If you like what you've heard here, tune in the next few weeks for our next episode of Moguls. But don't forget to like, share. We're waiting to see you online. So your school, Village Leadership Academy, is doing incredible things for the youth in Chicago. Tell us a little bit about the journey, but I really want you to speak specifically about the renaming of Douglas. I think that is the most because I seen the episode on BET, by the way. Woo,
Thank
woo,
you.
woo.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that journey and how that process went, and to see that you are actually raising up a new generation of socially conscious individuals. I think that is so powerful. Tell us a little bit about all of the advocacy that went into, renaming Douglas.
Yeah, so at Village Leadership Academy, again, we don't just call ourselves a leadership academy and it has no meat to it. If you're a student at Village Leadership Academy, you're going to get 10,000 hours of experience in leadership and making real change in your own community. And we do that through this process or program that we have at our school called Grassroots Campaigns. So at Village Leadership Academy, starting from kindergarten through 8th grade, every student in our school identifies a problem in their community or something that they want to change in their own community, and they actually develop an action plan. They get community allies. They bring together the resources that they need to actually address that problem in their community. And so 3 years ago, we had a group of 5th graders who had learned about Douglas Park. So Douglas Park, believe it or not, is right across the street from my house. I live on Douglas Park.
Wow.
And so what happened was there was actually a young girl who lost her life in Douglas Park due to police brutality. Her name is Rakia Boyd. And so our students had heard that story and they became very interested in Douglas Park. And they actually wanted to rename Douglas Park to honor the life of Rakia Boyd. And once they started to do that research, they learned a lot about Douglas Park. Like, number one, that Douglas Park was named after Stephen A. Douglas, who was a slaveholder and who was anti-abolition. They also learned from the Park District Board that a park district could only be named after a historical figure. And so they decided that they wanted to name a playground in Douglas Park in honor of Rakia Boyd, but they wanted to rename the entire park after Anna and Frederick Douglass, who were abolitionists, because that's their community. That's actually the community that I live in. And so they did their research. They found their allies in terms of trying to understand, how do we rename this park? They actually had the alderman as an ally in this process as well. And the Park District Board gave these 10-year-old 5th graders the runaround. These 10-year-olds were sharp. Our students can pull together a presentation. They know how to answer the questions that need to be answered. So they went, testified before the Park District Board. They got over 5,000 petition signatures of people in the city of Chicago who supported them renaming this park. And the Park District basically blew them off. It was coming up on summertime and they were thinking, oh, these young people, see y'all next year, get a new campaign, because this was something that had never been done in the city of Chicago and had never been done nationally. They got all types of media stories. They made the front page, and one thing led to another, and there was just enough community pressure, specifically around like everything that was happening and that was happening nationally as it relates to Black lives. And the Park District Board ended up having another meeting, and they voted unanimously to rename the park. The first park in the U.S. history, the first public park to be renamed because of its affiliation with slavery.
Wow.
Yes. What they have learned is that they have the power to make something happen, even when a whole system is telling them no. Even when a whole system is telling them no, if they stuck with it, they kept the vision, and it was so simple to them. It was so simple to me. Just rename the park. In fact, some community members actually just added an extra S on all the signs throughout the park. So in some ways, at the community level, the park had been renamed, but our young people had the vision of, no, this system is gonna listen to us. Because our voices matter, and this is our neighborhood, this is our community. We should have the power to name the public places that we play in. And I think that power that they found, that sense of, just a sense of, entitlement as a human being, right? That your voice should matter. That's something that once a person gets, they're never gonna lose that.
I just love what you all do at Village Leadership Academy, because you are raising children that are socially aware. And so their whole ideology is like, we don't care if it's black, we don't care if it's Latino, we don't care if it's Muslim. We're going to speak out against social injustice all across the world.
Yeah.
How do you, when you look at your life and see the impact that these young children are making in the world, how do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel honored. You know, it was so profound. It's like, you know, God obviously gave me the vision for Village Leadership Academy, and it's a shared vision. It's not just my vision. So God gave us this vision, right, for Village Leadership Academy. And so in some ways, I can't be shocked, right? I can't be shocked because, you know, when you listen, when you are obedient to God, and when you listen and you follow the path that, when you're on your path and you do the things that you're supposed to do, then you expect good things.
What you said is so powerful, because that's something that I teach as a business coach. Do what you've been called to do and watch God provide.
Yes.
And I've seen that in
Yes.
your life. I've seen you just out here working, because when you first started Village Leadership Academy, you guys weren't making money at the time. I remember you shared with me. You was like, it's a struggle.
Oh, yes.
But you kept at it. You kept at it. You kept at it. You kept at it. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they start off powerful, but when struggle come or when the process come, they kind of fall back and they run. And then they have this excuse, well, if it's God, then it's, you know, we shouldn't be having all this struggle. But I've learned that many times when God calls us to a thing, he actually asks us to walk in the level of faith that is not predicated upon what we see, but based on hearing his voice.
Yeah.
So I look at your journey at Village Leadership Academy, and when the money wasn't coming in, and when no one knew your name, and when you weren't on television, and when you didn't have this big platform, you still trusted God that Village Leadership Academy has to work out because God told you.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes.
So, Nakisha, magic question is, this is my favorite, one of my favorite things to talk about. But, so you employ over how many people?
So I think at this point, we probably, with all of the businesses that we run, we probably employ close to 300 people.
Close to 300 people. You're a wife. You're a mother. You're a mother of a college kid, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yes, I am.
And a high schooler.
Yes.
So many demands are on you. You're also an educator. You also are a part of policy decision-making boards. How do you balance all of that, and how do you make sure that you're getting the self-care that you need?
Yeah, so that's a good question. That's a great question. And I think everybody will probably say they could take care of themselves a little bit better, right? So I don't want to, you know, pretend like I have it all together. But I think I try to care for myself all day long. It's, you know, in every moment of the day. I think from the time when I wake up in the morning, I'm an early riser. So I try to make sure I have time for myself in the morning. I definitely believe in prayer. I believe in journaling. I believe in meditation. And my mother actually taught me to make time for that every single day.
Yes.
So that's something that I try to do every morning. And I think when you do those things, it helps your day to be a little bit easier. It helps your day to flow better because you are connected to a higher purpose, and you have a vision for your, not only for your life, but you have a vision for your day. So that's something that's very important to me. I enjoy going on walks. And so I go on walks. I mentioned earlier that I live across the street from a park, a beautiful park. And so, you know, I do try to make the opportunity, make sure I have time to go on walks. I would like to say I go on walks every day, or that I exercise every day. I'm not at that everyday level yet, but I'm always conscious of those things. And I make that time. And I just try to be active throughout the course of my day.
So what does Mogulish mean to you?
So what Mogulish means to me is that, you know, I am a person, you are a person, we are people who have power. Power to make a difference, power to create opportunity, and power to manifest the things into our world and our lives that we want to see. And so I definitely feel Mogulish. And I feel like this is still just the beginning for all of us. I think that there is so much opportunity, there's so much creativity. And the thing about being Mogulish is that you have to move on. You have to move on that creativity. You have to move on that thing, and you have to be making a difference in your life and in the lives of others.
Thank you, Nakisha, so much for being here with me today on this episode of Mogulish. You dropped so many nuggets. I just love you. I love you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mogulish.